Jamie Stevens.
What's up?
Well, it's perfect intro. Welcome to the Bring the Moxie podcast. This is where we talk to people about how they bring the Moxie to their business and what they do. So we'll start out real quick. What was Jamie Stevens before real estate?
Well, I was my first career, if we're talking career-wise, was a nurse. Went straight into college to go to nursing school, and knew exactly what I wanted to do. Didn't hesitate at all. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And did that career, different roles in that career for many years, almost 20 years before I left, and still have my license, but I don't see myself going back to it at any time.
It's always a backup plan.
Yeah.
You never know. But
Yeah, but I keep my license just because I don't know, it's a big accomplishment, and it was part of my identity for so long.
yeah,
Mm.
that's and usually people that go into that field, and I'm just gonna make a quick adjustment so that is out of your face. Um, People that go into nursing are usually caring people and giving people, which fits into real estate as well, because being a realtor, you're central of everything. Like I've said before, I think the realtor is kind of like the quarterback of the whole transaction. You're literally pointing everybody where you got to go, which means you got to have good planning skills, but also you've got to care about what's happening. You can't just wing it.
Yeah, I
And
think that real estate is not rocket science. It's not, there's more to it than just knowing real estate. It's like you said, the quarterback, you got to care. You're coordinating all these amazing, smart people who help the process go. The lender, the title company, the appraiser, the inspector. You are the quarterback. You are making sure. Sometimes I call it the ringleader, but it is important to have that caring side and make sure that everybody feels seen and heard, which is the most important part, I think, to me.
Mhm. Some people feel sometimes you can't be yourself or who you are to be successful. Have you ever felt that you've had to be a different version of yourself to succeed in business?
That's a good question. I think from the perspective of being a woman in business, I have felt that way sometimes.
Hmm.
Someone just mentioned the other day about the importance of being direct as a leader,
Yes,
and
direct is hard.
direct is hard. And because you don't want to hurt feelings, and you, especially from the perspective of someone in my position who is very nurturing and caring, I always want people to feel loved and supported. And sometimes when you have to be direct, they don't
Yeah,
feel that way, and it's a hard conversation. Hard conversations happen all the time though in business. And as a woman in business, I feel like that's a fine line that we walk.
yeah, yeah. You don't want to. I've heard this before
Mm.
because it feels from other women. They feel they don't want to be perceived in a different light, a word that I won't say on here,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they don't wanna be perceived that way.
Right. And
Um,
they can be easily.
yeah,
Whereas a man, being direct comes across as strong and firm. Whereas women do too. It's
correct.
just people expect a different version from women,
Yeah.
and so that can be a little difficult for women in business,
So
but it's
this
still
make it
just as important.
so this makes it a little more difficult to feel free to be yourself sometimes?
I think so, maybe. I think, I do tend to be myself, but I
Mhm.
sometimes have to, myself is a little more is softer, and
Gotcha.
so sometimes I do have to get out of that softer comfort zone to be a little more direct and firm.
Yeah,
And I've had to do that many times, and I
yeah,
don't enjoy that side of it, but sometimes it's necessary.
yeah. Real estate is a tough business,
Mhm.
and it's a direct business. If you're not direct, it can become a disaster.
Yeah.
And so, and you as a business owner, you're a leader. So, I mean, as there parts of yourself that you've had to heal to become a better leader?
Parts that I've had to heal.
Anything direct that you've had to do that you feel rough about? Anything that's beat you down a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I think that, going back to the nursing side of things,
Mhm.
I went from a career that was very much just following orders
Yes.
and nurturing and bedside manner and taking care of other people. And I had to transition into a role of leadership and, like you said, being more direct. And so I would say I did have to adjust
Yeah.
quite a bit to fill that role correctly. But I still value a lot of that side of me, in
Yes.
that, I bring the nurturing side and the comforting side, where I have had to adjust a little bit to the firmer
Yeah.
boss babe side, that sometimes can be difficult. So by healing, I don't know if that's the right word, but
Mhm.
definitely
Adjusting.
adjusting. Adjusting would be the right
And your history in nursing, I think, the nurturing side, the caring side, the detailed side, you can't mess up as a nurse.
word. It's
It's
true.
life or death sometimes. And so that I think has probably pulled over into real estate as
Oh,
well.
definitely. Actually, that's a big part of it.
Mhm.
In nursing, we have to keep notes, on patient care and medications and all the things. So I think when I first started in real estate, I kept more than enough notes. I documented everything. And I think that helps me a lot
Yeah.
because, when you're dealing with important decisions and contracts and things like that, you have to keep good notes and document things and email, email conversations and things. So I think that that's a big part of what I brought over from nursing, the communication.
So nursing's a great career. Um, so how how did you make that decision
That's a good
to
question.
step away from a great career, a rewarding career, one that takes a lot to become? And you can't just go, I'm just going to be a nurse and you're a nurse. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and a
How
lot
did
of
you
people have switched over from nursing to real estate.
Yeah, how did that happen? How did that spark for you?
Well, I had taken a short break from nursing when my kids were in elementary and middle school because life had gotten really busy. My husband was working 7 days a week,
Wow.
and I was working full time. And then I stepped down to part time so that our kids had some parent at home. And we made the decision mutually that it was best for maybe to step back completely and just take some time. And those were some of the best times for me. I was able to be PTA president and all the things that, every mom wants to do.
Absolutely.
And I did that for a couple of years, and I got to volunteer in their classrooms and take them to school and pick them up, and they didn't have to go to, aftercare and all those things that I had always hated to do.
Yes.
And um but then I got to a point where it wasn't enough. I missed the, helping people outside of the home. And I got to help people at the school, like the teachers and all those things, but helping people, you know, real estate was nursing was very fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
I was able to help people with some of the biggest moments in their lives,
Hmm.
having babies,
Yeah.
and sometimes we had sad days, losing babies, things like that were really
Yeah.
stressful. And for
Yeah.
me to be able to comfort someone in that situation or help them through it was very rewarding.
Yeah.
So I decided, when a friend was opening a brokerage, to reach out, and who was also my realtor at the time, who had
Oh,
helped me buy and sell
okay.
property. Um, can I mention names?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Name
So
sales.
when Ben was opening his brokerage, this was in 2019, he had been brave enough to step out and start his own.
Yes.
And I reached out to him, and he had helped me buy and sell property before. So I said, "Hey, you know, this PTA life is wonderful, but I'm feeling the pull to go back to work, but I don't necessarily want to go back to full-time nursing. Do you need an assistant or anything at the office, something I can help with?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm not that big yet. I don't need an assistant, but if you want to get your license and come work with me, that would be amazing." And
Yeah.
so I said, "Okay, how do I do that? What do I do?"
What do I do?
So he told me what to do, and I did it, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, well, you launched onto the scene and you did very well. Um,
I
it's a
actually love to tell my first day story.
oh man, I need that story.
The story is good. Uh, I took the course and went to take my state board exam, which is very stressful.
Yes.
And actually, I think the statistics are like 40% fail rate on the
Yeah,
first
because the
attempt.
class doesn't teach you anything.
Yeah, the class is, it teaches you minimal.
Yeah,
And then the real life on the job training is
right.
where you learn everything, as in most things.
Absolutely.
But I went to take the test, and Ben said, "Oh, let me know how it goes after the test." And so I went and took the test. By the end of it, I felt like I had no idea what planet I was on. I was just completely drained. And I go out to the front, and they pass a piece of sheet of paper over to me, a sheet of paper that's upside down, and it's got my results on it.
Pass or fail.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this isn't good." They're not smiling, they're not doing anything. And I flip it over, and it says, "Congratulations," with a big smiley face on it. And I was just like, fell on the ground. And so that was really fun. And so I got in the car, immediately got on the phone with my mom or somebody, and didn't call Ben. And so Ben calls me and says, "Hey," he left me a voicemail message. He's like, "Hey, it's okay if you didn't pass on the first try. A lot of people don't." And so when I got his message, I laughed and I called him and I said, "No, all good. I'm official. It's good." So he said, "Okay, come in the office. Let's talk. Let's get you official." So the next day I go in, and I'm sitting across the desk from him like this. And I get a phone call, and it was from a friend. And she said, "Hey, you passed your test, right? Are you official?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm official." She goes, "Can you show a house?" And I said,
Oh,
"Today?"
wow.
And she was like, "Yeah, I have a friend who wants to see a house. Can you show it?" And so I take my phone and I look at him and I say, "Can I do it?" And he was like, "Yeah." He hadn't even made me active yet. So he
He's,
makes
like,
he
rushing really
pushes
quick.
the button, makes me active. We go. I made him go with me, of course,
Yeah.
because I was terrified. My first day on the job. He goes with me just for moral support. We show the house. The buyer loves it, wants to make an offer, makes an offer. The offer gets accepted, and we're under contract. That was my first day.
That should be your sign.
I know, right? That was one sign that I was doing the right
Yes.
thing, but I
Yes.
think, that was God knew that I needed
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
because I was, nervous, but I was excited, but I
Mhm.
also didn't feel the pressure to be, the best realtor in the world. I wanted something that would kind of make as much money and fulfill me somewhat like nursing did, without
Correct.
having to go back to nursing. And
Yeah.
of course, my first year in real estate exceeded that. So
Yeah.
I was very happy.
So your first year helping let's coach some folks here. So your first year in real estate, what's your advice to someone starting out that really is this their first because it's a connections business. You gotta make those connections, and if you don't have them, you gotta make them. And so what's your advice to a new person of any age to get into this business and be successful?
I would say,
Your first year plan.
okay, first year plan, if you've never done it, you've never had any kind of real estate experience, you want to do look at what other successful realtors are doing. You're not copying them, you are inspired by them.
Mhm.
And you'll notice that a lot of the successful realtors are communicating. They're calling people back. They're, um, just having conversations with people, letting people know what you do. If
Yeah.
you don't tell people what you do, how do they know they can call you? They're not just going to magically show up. And so I noticed, from my years of being very plugged into our community, that helped me a lot right off the bat.
Mhm.
And I also think that the connections I had made over the years, the relationships that I had
Yeah.
made a big difference. So I think you have to communicate with people, get plugged in. You don't just have to attend networking events with other realtors. You have
Yeah.
to be supportive of your community, and people see that. They know the difference.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% there. You gotta be out. You gotta be where other realtors aren't. But the beauty too that's really neat about real estate is technically you're in competition with other realtors, but in reality you're not because you all are trying to sell that house. So
That's
If
actually
you
my favorite part
Yeah.
of real estate is that, well, I have a lot of favorite parts, but the part I like most about working with other realtors is we are kind of competing with each other all the time because
Yeah.
of course we all want the listings, and you sometimes know that another realtor is competing with you for a listing. You know that they're interviewing another realtor.
Right.
So in that respect we are competing, but in the flip side of that is that we work together
Mhm.
actually more than people realize on the other side of the deal.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a realtor who is the listing agent and the buyer's agent, and more common than not, you're going to have two realtors, not just one.
Yes.
You know, so you have to work together and have good working relationships with your fellow realtors.
That's the neat thing about it is say I'm a realtor and you're a realtor, you get the listing, but I can still sell that house. So it's still we still work together to get the house sold. So it's a very unique business in that where everyone can, like I said, like you were saying, we're all in competition, but we still kind of work together. Whereas like in lending, it's like you get the loan or you don't get the loan,
Right. You don't
So
work with
you
other lenders to get
yeah,
a loan
that
done.
doesn't happen. Well, even though we're all friends, it's and same in the video business. You either do the video or someone else does it.
Yeah.
But your
Sometimes you can
business,
collaborate, I guess.
you can, and we do. But there's some really creative guys I'm collaborating with on a couple other projects, which are fun, and we'll white label what we call white label for each other, where I put on their shirt or they put on my shirt, and so technically they're supposedly on my team, but they're still there, but they're just helping out. And so sometimes we just help out for free for fun. It's just fun because we just want to create a project. We're like, hey, I got this really cool project. It's not paying anything. You want to do it? Sure, let's do it. So it's fun.
So that's the
Yeah.
important part about, real estate. I always say communicate
Yeah.
and work together. Don't treat, some realtors sadly look at the other side as an enemy.
Yeah. You
You're on the
can't.
other side. I'm representing my buyer, you're representing the seller, and we're gonna fight this to the end.
Yeah.
And that is not how it works.
No.
That's not the best way.
You do it that way. Then you're adversarial. You're not helping the seller. And I get representing your seller and getting the maximum offer for it. I understand that part of it. But once the deal's moving, let's take it to the table for and make it the best for everybody involved. I understand that 100%. And so you were at Ben's office for how many years? Roughly
6.
6 years. Really, 6 years. Wow, time
I
flies.
know.
Time flies. So you were there. Then Ben decides that he wants to live in the mountains and makes us all angry because he gets to go to the mountains and we don't. And so he goes and so he's gonna bow out. So that kind of leaves you in a position of like, okay, do I go work for another brokerage or do I start my own? That's a big decision because when you start your own, there's a lot of responsibility falls on your shoulders, and now you become an entrepreneur on a whole nother level. Being a realtor, you're technically kind of an entrepreneur, but now you're going to another level. And so, because now you're going to have leadership roles, you got a lot more bills that are going to hit you, a lot more legal responsibility. A lot is about to hit. You got branding, you got all this other stuff. So how was that in your head as you started to think about that? How did you decide that, you know what, I'm gonna start Sunkissed. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to have a lot of good role models, including Ben. I saw him do it from day
Yeah.
one. We were together since day one when he opened that. Well,
Yeah.
I say day one, but he had a
Yeah.
lot of things that led up to day one, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest. And so, but once he opened the doors of that business, it was not long, and I was there with him, and we got to kind of do it together. And so I got to learn from him and see the things that he did right or the things that maybe he would have done differently,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so I was lucky to get to learn that process with him. And I think that helped me a lot.
Yes.
And so when some people ask me, why did you do this? Why would you do this to yourself? It's
Yeah.
a lot to take on, and it really is. Um, I think I say because I get to have a lot of freedom if I
Mhm.
have my own brokerage. I can do things how I want to, and l- learning from the people who did it before me, I was able to put in some systems right away that I really liked,
Yeah.
and things that I didn't like, I left off. I mean, there's some things you don't want to do, but you have to.
Yeah.
Over the years, I was recruited I
Hmm.
guess, as a lot of realtors are by
Yeah.
other brokerages, and they all have amazing s- setups or systems in place, but none of them felt quite right to me. Maybe the way they did things worked for them, and I know it works, but I didn't want that for myself.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a tough decision for me as far as, if I have to make a change or want to make a change, what do I do? Do I go plug in somewhere and just smooth sailing? And that would have been a
Yeah.
lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Sure. But I decided to take the harder road and do it myself. And it was even harder than I realized, of course, like everything.
Yes.
I I knew there was the branding and just creating a logo
Yes.
was agonizing for me because those are decisions that you don't change right away. You
No,
kind of make a decision, you go with
you got
it,
to commit to it.
and you're committed. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. And you can always change it and
Yeah.
rebrand later, but who wants to do that? You
Yeah.
want to get it right from the beginning.
What was your process there? Because
Yeah.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So we
I'll
have,
tell you.
yeah. So I mean that's the thing that as a young entrepreneur or a new entrepreneur,
Thank you.
it's
Young.
important.
I like that
Yeah.
word. No, but
as but as new entrepreneurs, that's a big piece. So your branding, and sometimes people overthink it. Analysis paralysis, I feel, is like just get going, and you can change it later. But once you do got to commit to it. You got to commit to that look, and once it's there, stick to it, brand it, and that's you for a while until you decide to rebrand.
And
How was
something
that
I've
process for
that
you?
is something I've gotten a lot better at is the stop overthinking because I'm an overthinker. Like I said, I came from a profession that was follow orders. You had to, make quick
Yeah.
decisions based on your knowledge and what you were told to do, of course.
Hmm.
But then I switched into a role where I had a lot of creative freedom and a lot of, decisions were on me, even just as a realtor. But then I
Yeah.
had my broker to lean on. Switching into the broker role, and not only just the broker, but the owner, like I didn't have anybody to ask, it was me.
Yeah.
So I would say, at the beginning, I leaned a lot on friends
Hmm.
and people who knew me really well. Just little things like the logo or even the business name. It was hard. It was a hard decision because I
Yeah.
said, I don't want to just name it Jamie Stevens Realty.
Hmm.
That's so overdone, whatever.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's wrong. It's just
Hmm.
that didn't work for me. So I polled my friends and they were so supportive, and friends who have started businesses were
Yeah.
extremely helpful because they knew what it took and they
Been down
knew
the road.
they've been down that road. They know
Yes.
exactly. And so the logo, I would send them images and say, "What do you think of this? What do you think of this?" And they'd be like, "They're exactly the same. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, they're very different, obviously, and
Yeah.
the overthinking jumps in. And so then I finally got to a point where I was comfortable
Hmm.
and confident. And now in that role, I've gotten a little more comfortable with the decision making.
I think it was smart to bring other vision into it for you, because that way you can sometimes you can get locked into something and without without input sometimes. And it's even like if you create a great product that you think is great but you never test it with people and you go through all the investment to make that happen and then all of a sudden no one really wants it. That's a bad thing. So you
I
definitely
think
need that social
also,
proof.
yeah, also when you're trying to make a decision about something, you don't want to lose yourself in it
Yes.
because you look at, oh, what is everybody else doing?
Correct.
That must be the right thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have your friends and family who know you and they say, that's not you. That
Yeah.
don't do that. That's
Yeah.
not you. You're trying to be something that you're not. And that is a kick in the gut sometimes because you say, you know what, you're right. That's not me. Get back to yourself. Get back to what works for you.
Being authentic and being able to take people being direct with you like that. Those are the best friends to have. Is one that can say, "Listen, Jamie, this is not you.
Yeah.
This is just no offense, but this is not you. Don't be you. We know you." And so that's so important to have people around you like that. Because starting a business is a big deal. You know, probably what would you say if you had to name one thing? And this is hard. One thing. What's the hardest part of starting a business?
There's so many hard parts that it's
There's a
hard to
lot.
say
There's a whole
which
list.
one is the hardest. But
Which
I
one would
think
stand out to you the most?
for me, the hardest part was, and this sounds really bad, but um, you don't want to fail, of
Yeah.
course.
Mhm.
And so going into it, I thought it through for a while. Like, is this really what I want to do? I don't want to do this and have it fail
Yeah.
and then have to go with my tail between my legs back to some other
Yeah.
role. But the reality is you don't fail. You can't fail. I mean, in the maybe definition of it, sure, you can fail or it
Mhm.
doesn't succeed and doesn't grow or something, but you
Yeah.
learn something
Yeah.
through every aspect of it. I learned, I joke about like the learning curve from going from realtor to broker to owner was, I can't believe there's any room left,
It's massive.
from
Yeah.
all of
There's so many, and we learn every day too. There's always something else that hits you.
that. So I think the biggest part for me was, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
It was the
The
fear
doubt,
factor.
the fear factor, and I think there's something that each entrepreneur has, which is something that I live by, which is always push forward,
Yeah.
no matter what. Always push forward. I mean, I've been down to where I'm negative in my accounts, when starting out businesses, and just like, what am I gonna do? There's no revenue on the horizon. What are we gonna do? Push forward.
Yeah. And for me, it was start slowly.
Hmm.
Some people like to go a million miles an hour into it and they do well, and that's them, and that's great.
Yeah.
And quick growth for them is amazing.
Yeah.
For me, it was slow and steady because I hadn't done this before. I didn't want to fail myself
Yeah.
along with once I started taking on other realtors.
This thing is on mute too. I don't know why it's doing that.
So I didn't want to fail myself. I didn't want to fail my other realtors. I brought them on, and that was probably for me the biggest step. Because sure,
Yeah.
I can start a business, I can do whatever I want. For me, now these people have signed up with me. That's huge. They
Yeah.
put a lot of trust in me. They believe in me
Yeah.
because they came from other brokerages that were very successful.
Hmm.
And they said, I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing, and I want to be part of it. And
Yeah.
that was a huge confidence boost for me in a way,
Yeah.
but also took me to the next level of responsibility
Yes.
and like, okay, we're doing this. Like, it's not just a game, it's not just for me.
Yeah.
This is for other people, and other people believe in it. So that's what we're doing.
Knowing thyself is very important. Having those real conversations and not lying to yourself, and know who you are, know your limits, and know how you can be successful. And if you can't figure that out, get with someone that's honest that can tell you directly who you are, and that can help you with the mentor situation. So, I mean, there has probably been sacrifices you've had to make that no one knows about.
Sure.
Anything
Oh,
you want to
so
share?
many. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I love to share. Because like I said before, there's no one else to ask
Correct.
if you don't know what to do.
It's lonely.
Yeah, it's a little bit lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a business owner is a little lonely
Yeah.
because you are the final answer, which is great in some ways because then you can do kind of what you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you want, or you don't know what the right answer is, you have to really think it through and ask
Yeah.
the right people for advice.
Correct.
And in an industry that is a bit competitive,
Hmm.
I can't just go to another broker and say, hey, how do I do this? They're going to
Yeah.
laugh at me, or but in reality, they actually are very supportive
And helpful.
brokers around. Yeah. When I first announced what I was doing, there was one broker who reached out to me right away. And I'll tell you who it was,
Sure.
Kristen Robel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that more than or that she probably knows, because I felt a little afraid, and I was putting this out there that I'm doing this, and she reached out. And besides Ben was
Yeah.
absolutely very supportive and encouraging.
Yeah.
And I could always ask him questions. Even if he didn't know the answer, he'd help me get there. But the one who reached out to me first was Kristen. And she said, hey, I've been in your shoes, especially with a boutique brokerage. And I know it's scary and you don't always have the answers. And if you don't, if you want to reach out to me anytime, you can. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. That is amazing.
And that's really good. And that's something I've always liked about our market, is it is a helpful market. It is a market of people that try to work together and help each other. And that's nice that she did that.
She did. She was the first.
Yeah.
And I will say there were others. There were several others that reached out and said, hey, I love what you're doing. And I know it's exciting for you. And there's going to be times where you don't, you may not know exactly what's going on or what to do. And that's true. And with any new business, but if you ever need help or advice, like, you can call. And that's tremendous.
So when you first started, I remember we talked about it, and it was going to be you. Next thing I know,
I know.
you have realtors.
I know.
So what's that like to suddenly take on a leadership role? Now you're like, I'm growing this business and we're fairly new. I'm getting my feet under me. Now I have two realtors that I have to lead and
Yeah,
help them grow.
tremendous difference
Yes.
between starting this business for me and me only to now I've got these people. Just like I said earlier, it's uh, pressure in a
Correct.
way,
Yeah.
but good pressure
Yeah.
and encouraging pressure that these people came to me. I was not actively recruiting. They came to me and said, I've either worked with you before and I like your style, or I want to be part of what you're starting, and that was
Mhm.
so encouraging.
That's inspirational that when they see when someone reaches to you and when you start something, they say, I want to be part of that. That's like, oh, wow,
Yeah,
you
so I
know?
met individually with them at different times, and it was very close together that this happened. And I said, "Are you sure? Like, you're coming from a very well established, not that I was wanting them to doubt their decision. I just wanted them to be sure. I said, you're coming from a situation where you're well supported, you have a good thing going, you're coming on with me. This is a new thing. This isn't, really well established." And they said, "That's okay. I'm doing it because of you." And that was huge. So they wanted to be part of the beginning of something kind of like I did with Ben. I
Yeah.
started with him, I put a lot of faith in him to train me, which he did very well. And they kind of did the same thing with me. Like they came already somewhat trained though, and
Yeah.
they had had experiences in real estate. And that meant even more because they said, we've been in there and done this a little bit. We want to do what you're doing. So that was very encouraging.
Yeah, because in essence, you're a startup.
Yeah.
And so it's like when people believe in a startup and they come to a startup without the financial resources that they could have access to, that's a big statement. So you should definitely take that as a major compliment.
Major compliment,
Um,
major motivator too, to keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, that's another thing. It puts that added pressure. So now your push to be successful is probably tenfold because now you have people going, "Hey,
So that's where you get into what are the sacrifices, like you said.
yes, yes,
There's no off time. There's literally no cannot turn my phone off.
yeah,
It's always attached to me. Now, is there a good work-life balance that needs to happen? Of course, but when you're starting a business, you can't think like that. You
yeah,
have to be available. You have to answer your phone. You have to be available not only to yourself and your customers, but also now your realtors,
yeah,
the people that work for you are depending on you to
mhm,
answer your phone when they have questions so that they can communicate back to who they need to. Then you've got all the bills. I
yeah."
went
You got the bills. Yes, that's the fun part of owning a business. All of a sudden, there's bills,
bills.
subscriptions.
Went from a brokerage setup that I really liked, and that's partly how I modeled it because we kind of together grew it, and I gave Ben my feedback, and I had never worked in real estate, but I
Mhm.
said, "Hey, this is how I would like it to go." And he considered my feelings as well as making sure it was best for the business, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
So I took that to my new business and I said, how do I want my realtors to feel about this business? I need to make money. They
yeah,
need to make money. So it's a business. You can't ignore that part of it, but you
correct.
also want to make sure everybody feels supported and that they're not feed to death,
Yeah,
with fees and bills of their own.
yes,
So you do kind of take on a lot of that yourself, the rent for the office,
yeah,
the website,
yeah,
the all the expenses that come with it that people don't realize. And do I make them pay for that? No, because that was my business. I pay them their fair split,
mhm,
and that's one thing that I do a little bit differently, maybe that other brokerages don't, is that I don't have those extra fees. And it's
yeah,
kind of a really simple setup, really simple. And they appreciate that so that they
mm,
can actually make money and
mhm.
feel supported and do well.
It makes a difference. Yeah, you can get feed to death, and there's all kinds of models, all kinds of different ways of doing it. Um, and as the message too that I'm kind of seeing here too is if someone's starting out, finding mentorship in multiple platforms is a way to grow. Like you had a mentor in Ben, showing you the way, and then there's other realtors, other brokers who have been there, and other business owners who have helped you. So That's the thing I think a lot of people need to understand when they're trying to start a business is you are alone, but you're not alone.
Yeah, and it's not just real estate mentors.
Yes, correct.
I am very lucky to have a lot of really amazing business owners as friends that I maybe didn't have when I was in nursing. I
Yeah,
had, I
yeah,
didn't know these very brave people who ventured out and started businesses because it does take a little bit of bravery because no, it would be a lie if somebody said I wasn't afraid when they started their business.
yeah,
So when you do something that you're afraid of, but you do it anyway, that's called bravery.
correct.
And so these are very brave people and they took risks. And in nursing, that wasn't really a thing. I didn't have to take risks.
Yeah, you know you're there, the job's gonna pay, your bills are paid, you have a
Yeah.
budget.
As long as you do your job
Yeah,
well, you're getting paid, you clock in, you clock out,
yeah,
you leave that job and you go home.
yeah.
Amazing. Some
There
days I miss that, but
there's no 9 to 5, and there's no safety net, and so I've known entrepreneurship, almost my entire life, so I don't know much else, but if, people who are working 9 to 5, that's the adjustment they have to understand that
Right.
there is no 5 o'clock, but the challenge you have to do then, you have to learn about personal time management to avoid burnout.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so, how do you handle avoiding burnout? Because with real estate and with almost any business, you are always on, but you have to build a system to keep yourself from burning out. How do you manage that?
There's a funny answer to that, and then there's a real answer. I joke that all realtors are probably alcoholics. No, that's not
We
true, not true.
leaning on that.
Just
Yeah.
joking. No, but you, I personally, I think I handle a lot of it through gratitude. I
Mhm.
try to focus, and I know that sounds a little hokey, but it's true. I try to focus on when I'm having stressful days and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't handle this. This is so much. And then I remind myself, this is what I asked for.
Yeah.
I asked for this. And this is amazing that I am
I applied
burnt
for this
out.
job.
Yeah, I'm, you know, frustrated
Yeah.
because I have so much going on, but it's such a blessing at the same time. So I try to turn it around and say, I'm grateful for this stress because it's going to be stressful. It's
Yeah.
always going to be stressful, but you do have to take a little bit of time and set down the phone, have a, family dinner without the interruption or whatever to ground yourself because it
And
will get to you after a while.
in setting those boundaries, for example, do you have, like you said, setting the phone down, having family time, being important on those days? Can you establish with clients and your realtors that work for you, like, hey, this is my off time? Have you been able to build that actually in? This is a hard thing to do in our
Honestly, I
business. Yeah.
haven't. I don't have off
Yeah.
time. And I don't know. I think that all entrepreneurs
Hmm.
kind of enjoy being on
Yeah.
all the time. I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe I'm different, but I think a lot
Yeah.
of people do. Now, what I've told customers and realtors that work with me, anybody, you can call me or text me at any time.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going to have my phone on. Now, if I'm asleep, I may not respond, but pretty much that's the only time I'm off is
Yeah.
I'm asleep. And I think that most people respect your time.
Hmm.
Most do, and there are a few that don't. I have gotten texts in the middle of the night from
Yeah.
people, but I've also given them permission to do that, so it's
Correct.
kind of on me.
Yeah.
Um, and you do have to put some systems in place to
It's
protect
a,
your sanity.
It's hard. I struggled with it for years, where I was nonstop sleeping an hour a day, if that. And so it's now I have something on my email that says I'm checking it twice a day,
Mhm.
and then I go through and make sure all that's answered. But it allows someone that emails me, they know that I'm into something else right now. You're not going to get an immediate response on that, but of course I'm not in real estate. Sometimes real estate needs that immediate response.
Oh yeah, you
And
have
so
to.
so it's a thing figuring out what business you're in and how you can, protect your time, because there are some time wasters out there as well. Some time wasting things that are scooping up.
And
I
over time, you start to recognize those maybe red
Yes,
flags of
yes,
people who are just wasting your time versus people who are
yeah,
actually genuine.
hmm,
And I think one thing that I didn't know about real estate when I first started was that like you mentioned, that some things are time sensitive, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of that in real estate. There are deadlines that we
Yeah.
have to meet. Um, at 11:59 p.m. on a random Tuesday night, you
Yeah.
have to have certain documents in, and
Yeah.
sometimes it actually goes to 11:59 p.m.
Yes.
before you get that
Yep.
signature back or whatever it is. So there are a lot of late nights in real estate, and you can't avoid that. You can't. There's
Yeah.
just no avoiding it. I mean, you can try, and we do, but there are some nights where it's nearly midnight and I'm on the phone trying to wrap up some inspection period
Yeah.
deadline, and stuff like that. So it does happen, and you do your best to make it work for everybody, but
Mhm.
it's
I
definitely a thing.
I think a thing that's useful I learned a long time ago is looking at your red activity, which is stuff that doesn't make money,
Mhm.
versus your green activity, which is making money.
Mhm.
Red activity is always there. Operational stuff you have to do, you have to get done. And so it's been a challenge for me, and you probably feel the same way, is where you look at your calendar and you go, I'm not doing any green activity today.
Those are days where you feel like you're chasing your tail
Yeah,
almost because you're busy, but you're not making money doing it.
correct.
And sometimes it's necessary. Some of
Yeah.
those things are necessary, and sometimes you can avoid them.
Mhm.
And that takes experience, I
Yeah,
think, to kind of
to
hone
balance
that
that
in.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
So we were on red and green, so we were kind of going down that path and balancing that out. That's calendar and focusing on that. But let's just say, and I asked this of my previous guest, if you had to rebuild today, but you can't go back in real estate, what would you do? You lost everything. Everything shut down. Everything collapsed. The market died. Real estate's dead. Can't go back to nursing because healthcare is a disaster. What are you going to do?
As a career choice, you
Whatever.
mean? Or
You got
like
to
how to
survive.
survive?
Yeah. What are you going to do? What kind of business you going to start? Job? What are you thinking? What's your mind? How's an entrepreneur mind
Okay,
work?
so if real estate's not an option
Hmm.
at all, and nursing's not an option, uh, hmm, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd have to think about it.
Hmm.
There are there are a lot of options to make money,
Right.
and especially when you have experience in two very different worlds,
Hmm.
I think you could probably take those and put them together and survive.
Yeah. I'm watching you right now. This is what I like about this. I'm watching your brain go, and you're thinking just like an entrepreneur. You're starting to think on your skill sets and how do I pull this together? And where's the opportunity for me to rebuild?
I can tell you where I wouldn't do.
What's that?
I would not be a farmer.
Ah.
Because I tried that. I tried to have a garden because I thought, how hard could it be? I
Oh
could do
no,
this. I
it's
can grow my
nonstop.
own food. That's not for me. I can tell you that's one thing I would never do because it's hard. It's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, you got animals. I started mine, and as soon as I planted the seeds, an armadillo ate them
Yeah,
all.
exactly. You
And
got to have all these things come together to make these things grow. And then you've got pests and,
yeah,
and critters that eat.
yeah. As soon as you get the plants up, you're it's going good, and then they get eaten by a deer. You become a hunter after that.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, if I had
So
to hunt for my own food, I'd probably starve, sadly, but or grow my own food. So I do appreciate the farmers. But you were asking about like kind of like why you would do something like this,
mhm,
and I kind of answered that a little bit
yeah,
of at first I thought, well, it felt like the next step, like the next natural step was to
yeah,
get the broker's license and kind of see what I could do. And then it was kind of a little bit of a challenge for myself.
yeah,
And I thought, okay, let me just see, if I can do this. And then when it started to become real and then I actually launched the business, I was like, well, I'm doing this. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if I would be doing this, the answer would have been no, no way.
mhm,
Why would
yeah,
I do that? That's crazy. But it just naturally happened and progressed. It was a lot of hard work, but it felt natural, if that makes sense.
correct.
Yeah, I think every single person who came into my life since I've been a realtor or even before that encouraged me in some way, either
Nice.
in a good way or a bad way,
Yeah,
right? Like I have a lot of like amazing business owner friends who have encouraged me, and I've seen what they've gone through, and I've seen them struggle at times or succeed, like amazing.
Yeah.
And I see them and I say, wow, not so much if you can do it, I can do it. More like if you were brave enough to do this and you're encouraging me, then why shouldn't I? Why
Yeah.
shouldn't I try?
What entrepreneurs, what entrepreneurial qualities inspire you?
Mm. I think I think entrepreneurs who, I mean, there's so many things that inspire me actually, but entrepreneurs who encourage other people and give back, I
Hmm.
think
That's your
that's the
inspire. Yeah.
top thing that inspires me, because anybody can go and start a business and just keep it all to
Hmm.
themselves, you know. And I think in some for some people that's their
Yeah.
goal, you know. They just want to grow so that they can have more. And I think if you look at it from the lens of, if I grow this, I can give back more. And I know that that isn't always possible, but the more you grow and the more you get and the more you're tasked with, the more
Mhm.
responsibilities you have, the more you can give back, and give back to other people who are maybe trying to do this too.
Yeah.
And you can give back to the community in general. Like I know, I don't know if we're going to use this part, but I'm
Mm.
going to tell you because this is between you and me. But like early on in the process, I was starting to realize how many bills I had. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
of little things that you don't think about. Like every email address costs extra.
Yes.
Real estate
Everything.
sign, every association dues and MLS dues and all the things. And I thought, oh my God, this is just getting more and more expensive. But then as I grew, I knew that I had to spend money to make money and
Yeah.
give in order to receive. And there was this little voice in the back of me, of my mind, and it said, you know, give it away. Give it away, because if you don't give it away, what good is it? It's not, you can't
Hmm.
take it with you. It's given to you to be responsible with. And if you are growing your business and you are successful, then you have to give it back. You have to give to other
That's
people and other communities.
that's a good philosophy. I think a lot of people who start businesses on a money mindset, they may be successful, but I don't think they'll be fulfilled. And so, I think you will be widely more successful with a giving mindset. I call it goodwill marketing. Um, eh, Not putting the bottom line on everything. You have to look at your numbers. You have to, but at the same time, you need to be willing to give back. And there's sometimes it's not going to give back to you, and if you can't base it all on that.
Right. And you don't, it doesn't always have to be monetary
Yeah,
giving too. It can be giving
no
with your time
time.
or your advice to
Hmm.
other people who are going through something. You know,
Yeah,
in nursing, I always told people, my advice to young nurses or new nurses was, don't go into it for the money,
yeah,
because that's not what you're going to get.
yeah,
You know, nursing sadly doesn't pay what it
yeah,
should. You know, I
yeah,
think that nurses and a lot of professions don't make what they should, but
yeah,
nursing in general, you don't go into it for the money. Real estate, maybe some people do go into it for the money because you can make a lot of money, but
yeah,
you also have to remember that what you are given, you should be giving back.
yeah. And it's a people business.
Is such a people
It's a
business,
people business.
and
Yeah,
communication is key. Let people know they're seen and heard
yeah.
and that they matter, because it's not rocket science. You
No,
know, contracts and things are important, and they're very serious, and you're dealing with people's money and the
yeah.
biggest investment that they're ever going to make in life.
It's emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional
Hmm.
too. And so that's our job,
Yeah.
is to kind of take the emotional off of it, you know, and be the clear mind and help them manage this big
Yes.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes them, looking at homes they shouldn't be looking at, is one thing I've seen a lot. Look at what you can really do,
Mhm.
and be focused, and pay attention. But I do, if you had to, here's a final question for you. Here's not a question. It's actually a question for you to come up with.
Mhm.
So my last guest, I asked them what the question was, and they said, okay, for you to give them for you to give them some advice. And my last guest was Doreen Wiebe.
Mhm.
So
Love
what
Doreen.
advice would you give Doreen?
What advice would I give her for her business?
Maybe so. She said, "What advice would you give me?" That's her
Uh,
question.
I like
It's hard to advise Doreen. She's got so
well,
much going
Doreen's,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's got it on lockdown. She's doing amazing. Um,
So so if you're what I would probably position that as is what advice in general would you give her as maybe to help her improve on something or to do better at
in life in
yeah
general or in
maybe
her
in life and
career
business
choices?
life
Okay,
and business
in
yeah
business,
yeah
I think Doreen does a lot of things very well.
hmm
You know, she's very community oriented.
yeah
She's involved. She attends more
everything
events than I can count. I don't know where she gets the energy for that, but it's amazing. Um, I would, my advice would be to keep doing a lot of the things
yeah
she's already doing.
yeah
Um, and to, I mean, if she wanted to grow her business, really what she's doing is amazing. I
yeah
don't know that
now
I,
you're on the right path there. It's a hard one to advise someone who's already successful.
yeah.
So one thing you don't know is, and you may know, but she said one of her things she likes is fashion,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. I've
So
encouraged her actually to open a
there's your
store.
advice. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
there's your advice. So
Okay.
that
Oh,
would
I
be my
wasn't sure
advice
where
to
we were going.
her is like, hey, you know, pursue that one day.
Yeah, she is a fashionista to
Yes.
the
Yeah.
max.
She
She
didn't like my style.
doesn't.
I don't understand.
She's always dressed amazing and
Yes.
she's beautiful and
Correct.
has,
So yeah, so you've already given their some advice, and I
oh yeah,
agree
I've
with that
told her
advice
she should open
because
a
it's a
store.
passion for her. So and the time has to be right, but pursue it.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be a good one for her.
Yeah. If we're
So
talking outside of real estate and
yeah,
outside of
anything. It
life,
was just like a general
yeah,
concept,
if
and
we're talking
so
about that,
that's
then
where we
yeah,
are with her
pursue your pursue
passion.
your passion.
Mhm.
But you know, some things we say, oh, it's my passion. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, sometimes your
selling homes is
passion.
my passion. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Selling homes is not my passion.
Yeah.
Connecting with people, I think, is my
Yeah.
passion.
People.
Yeah.
You like being with people. Being a nurse tells me you like to be with people
Yes.
because you can't be more intimate and being that. You
And
know.
I think sometimes we get ourselves maybe pigeonholed into a certain style.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to do that, but I do truly love working with my first time home buyers. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of realtors who see the business a certain way really do love that side of it
Yeah.
because of the teaching aspect.
Uh-huh.
When I was
Yeah.
in nursing, I taught my patients, especially in the OB world that I lived in then,
Mhm.
you know, and worked in, that, you know, I taught them what to expect
Mhm.
from day one through delivery, you know,
Yeah.
and they had no idea. The first time moms were wide-eyed and so
Mhm.
excited, and this is the biggest event of your
Yeah.
entire life.
Huge.
And so real estate kind of translates into that
Mhm.
because it's the biggest investment you're going to make and it's a lot of money and it's a big decision, it's emotional.
Yeah.
So guiding someone from day one to closing and letting them know ahead of time what to expect,
Yeah.
I think means the world to them.
Yeah. And that's a fun thing to do. I like first time home buyers too because you can guide them along.
As
And
frustrating as they
well,
can be sometimes
when they don't
because
listen. Yeah.
they're terrified and
Yeah.
they ask a lot of questions and some
Yeah.
people don't like that, but I actually like it because you have to have some understanding
Mhm.
of a process to even ask a question.
Correct. And they're learning and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on that. So that goes in line with your history.
Yeah.
It really does and on where you are. So with our lights failing on us, we're going to have to wrap it up. But what is the question that you want to leave for someone to answer? It doesn't have to be for you, but it's just a question that I will ask the next guest.
Oh, okay. Um, hmm. Well, depending on it could be because they could come from any
Anything, yeah.
background.
Yeah. It could be any guest. It's just a question that I'm going to
I
ask
think
them.
a question that any of us need to ask ourselves is why we do what we do, or why is something important to us? Because sometimes we will do things because we think it's just the right thing to do, or it's
Mhm.
what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And that I've been in that situation before. Like I said, when I was trying to come up with my logo or my name or whatever, I was thinking not for myself. I was thinking sometimes more like, what would everybody else do?
Mhm.
And you don't want to do that. You want to ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or why am I drawn to what I'm drawn to?
Yeah.
And then build on that because you know, you don't want to do what other people are doing just because they say, "Oh, this is a good career, you can make a lot of money on it."
Yeah.
If it doesn't resonate with you or it doesn't help you in some way other than just making money. Is
Yeah.
that going to work? Probably not.
Yeah. Do something. I hear people all the time. I'm stuck in this nightmare job. I hate being stuck here. You're not stuck in anything you have to take extreme ownership. There's a way out of everything. It may not be tomorrow. There's a path to it. Just like when you had to make the change of, okay, brokerage is shutting down. Where's my new path? You had to make a decision. So you had to go down a path and decide which way you're going to go. And you made your decision. And so those are things that I think people have to learn. One last question, because I forgot to ask you this earlier. I like to ask this one. Are you a reader? Do you like to read books?
I do like to read.
What is, and it's hard to read a lot when you're so busy. I understand that. But when you get a chance, what's the last book you read?
There's a book I'm reading at the moment. Hold on. Pause.
Yep.
Because I remember the name. Or have it. Okay. The book I'm reading currently is Start With Why.
Start With Why. Great book.
You know the book?
Yes.
And it was a gift at my grand opening.
It was. Who gave it to you?
Christopher Glazer.
Oh, good. Very good.
And I'm grateful for that. And people like him
Mm-hmm.
who have given advice, and people who have been in my shoes maybe before.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's probably why I said that, actually, because you do want to look at why you're doing
Yes.
things.
Start With Why. is a
Start with
great
why.
book.
I mean, just in general, that's great advice, don't you
Yeah.
think? You know,
I
you don't want to do things just because other people are doing it.
highly recommend it. I read that one twice.
Yeah, I just
That
started
is-
reading it.
It is a very good book. You're going to love it. It's going to change the way you look at things and how you approach things. Because if you do start with why, then it definitely will help you reevaluate. Just when we were talking about green and red, when you go, why am I in red right now? You're gonna find that out real quick.
Yeah, and when you start a business, you are all the departments.
Yes,
You know,
you're everything.
your payroll, your
Yeah.
advertising, your
Mhm.
all the things. So you start to realize, all right, what things can I give up? What things can I start
Yes.
delegating to maybe free me up so that I can build and grow the business instead
Yeah.
of just spinning my wheels.
Yeah, when you're stuck in when you're it's an investment sometimes. I've been in business where I've had to hire an assistant. It's going to cost me $3,500 a month, but
It hurts. It
But
hurts
it
to write
hurts a
that
lot.
check.
But at the same time, it freed me up to make 3 times that.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not doing all that other stuff.
And you have
so-
to start
yeah,
somewhere.
correct.
So you don't start with the
Mhm.
assistants. And
Yeah, and that's the other thing that people don't understand either. It takes time.
yeah, and
Yeah,
not
it takes
everybody
time.
believes in what
Yeah.
you're doing, so
Mhm.
they don't always want to help.
Mhm.
So you have to, sometimes they don't show up until you show that you're actually going to
Mhm.
be successful, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that you don't always realize. You think that some people are always just going to be your cheerleader or support you, and you start something new and they don't, or
Yeah.
maybe they just don't show up in the way that you thought they would, and
Mhm.
that's disappointing but also very telling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you know
and
who-
there's a lot of learning and kind of when it's growth,
Mhm.
you start to outgrow certain people and situations, and that's hard. That's a hard thing.
You will outgrow and grow past people, and we do that all through our life, but in business you do.
Yes.
You will have entrepreneurship can also distance you from certain friends, and it can change your life.
They might have
it's a
liked
different
the
style.
old version of you
Correct.
where you weren't
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah.
And maybe there was a version of me at one point that was just who I was, and I wasn't trying to build something. And so I think you do change a little bit, and your
Mhm.
mindset and the way you present yourself to the world changes a little bit, and so they may not like that.
Different people are in different seasons of your life, and so it is how it is. And so as you grow, that's just how you grow, and so you start to grow there.
Yeah.
So
And some people have, I'm surprised you haven't asked this question.
ask it.
It's a hard question, and people will say, what sets you apart?
Mhm.
What makes you so special
Yeah.
that you think that you
What's your moxie?
Yeah, what's your moxie? Yeah. I remember asking you that
Yeah.
when I was trying to come up with my name for my
Yeah.
business, and I'm like, what should I name it?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I would call it Moxie. And I was like, well, that makes sense. So now everything to me is sun-kissed everything, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But when they ask me, well, what's different about you?
Mhm.
Why?
Why?
Why are you doing this? And why should I believe
do
in
you stand out?
Yeah, why do you stand out? And I was thinking about that for a long time, actually, like, what does set me apart, And I think sometimes it's almost an easier question for other people to answer about you because
Yeah.
sometimes you don't see
It's true.
yourself that way.
It's true.
But I do think that um, having the mindset of people and relationships always over the profit, because
Mhm.
while you have to make a profit in business, that's
Yeah.
essential to
Yeah.
keeping a business alive. Having that relationship side is crucial.
It's
You
crucial.
you can't run a successful business without relationships and without other people influencing you and supporting you. You
It's
don't
not
do this by yourself. No,
no.
no successful person has ever said, "Oh, I
Mm-mm.
did this all by myself."
It's not who you are, it's who you know.
So
Yeah.
appreciating the people that came before you to
Yes.
pave the way for you. Like
Mhm.
I wrote an article recently I was very excited about. It's
Mhm.
just very short, but it was Gainesville City Life
Oh,
asked me
yeah,
to
saw
do,
that, yes.
and it was really cool and I was proud of it. But it was about women.
Mhm.
And while I am not a, jumping around feminist type of person,
Yeah.
because I don't, we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a second. But I do think that there's a lot of appreciation and gratitude
Mhm.
for the women who came before me and business owners in general who came before me that paved the way so that I can do this.
Yes.
Because my grandmother was never in a position to be able to do something like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't socially acceptable,
Mhm.
maybe, or people who did things like that back then really stood out,
Yeah.
And so, me doing this, it's not, to me, it wasn't that exciting that,
Mhm.
oh, okay, starting a business, anybody can do that, right? But I show appreciation for people who came before me.
Yeah.
And now starting a business is one thing, but keeping a business is another.
That's the other part, yeah, surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can start a
I
business.
don't know what the stats are for real estate, but I think it's if you make it
It's
even
I've
a couple
seen
of years in real estate,
mhm.
you've already beat the
I've
odds.
yeah, I've seen and I've been in this business for years, 28 years. I've seen a lot of brokerages come and go.
Yeah.
And so because they just decided I'm going to go work for someone else.
Yeah,
This is
it's a lot
too
easier.
much on my shoulders to deal with. It's easier just to hang my license over here, let them deal with all that cuz I just want to sell. I don't want to be an owner. And that's not for everybody. It's not. And so you either have it or you don't. And it's not a bad thing if you don't, because if everyone had it, then no one would work for anybody.
Right. But I think
And
a
so,
big part of it for me is I mean, I haven't even made it to 1 year yet
mhm,
with this business. I've
yeah,
been a realtor,
hmm,
I've been in real estate
yeah.
for it's over 7 years now, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
not a long time.
No, yeah, you're still in that growth phase, learning phase. Yeah, yeah. You're in now the new business owner phase. You know, in 5 years from now, it's gonna be a fun conversation is to look back and go, oh man,
Yeah, when we
yeah,
make it to our
yeah,
5-year point,
you will.
we'll have this conversation
Yeah,
again.
it's always pushing forward. It's that whole mindset. You never end. You never stop.
But I think it's really important to, if you are trying to grow a business, that you bring people on board that fit,
Yeah.
because some
Mhm.
brokerages I've noticed, and it's not wrong, it's
Yeah.
just their way. They want to get as many realtors as they can, whether
Yeah.
they're full
Yeah.
time or part time or
It's a numbers game. It's a philosophy. I've seen that in lending. Get as many salespeople as you can. Get 200 of them in, and 50 of them make it.
I feel like
It's not
there's
a
a need sometimes to just bring them all on and see
yeah.
what you get. There's that works sometimes too, but I feel like also my opinion is quality over quantity.
Correct.
And I want to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
with each individual realtor. So the two that I have now, even though we're small, I spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
And they came on because they liked what my
What
style.
you're doing.
They liked
Yeah.
what I was doing, like my style of how I was doing it. So I was like, okay, well then I don't want to ruin that
Yeah.
by
I want to
bringing
stay
on a
with that.
bunch of people who then it's going to change and it's not going to be my style anymore.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they have to do things exactly like I do. That's for sure.
No.
But they respect
You're there. You're helping mentor them, and
and
you're helping
they want
show
to learn, and I
them.
want to be able to give them that time. So I'm
Mhm.
slowly growing. Like I'm not actively recruiting,
Mhm.
but if someone wanted to join up and they were a good fit, I would love that.
Good fit is important. I've been down that road in multiple businesses to where you've had the wrong employees, the wrong people, and you've got to cut that quick.
Especially
Um,
when you have, say, a top producer, high
yeah.
producing agent
Hmm.
who wants to come on, you think, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
What else are they bringing though?
They're bringing a
Are they
lot to
bringing
it. Yeah,
some
bringing
drama,
drama. Hmm.
baggage,
Hmm.
negativity? Are they going to clash
Yeah.
with the group that I
Hmm.
have right now that is so great and works so well together?
Yeah.
That's not worth it to me.
Yeah. When I was in sales management, we had to cut a $40 million producer because he was just destroying the back room and hurting everyone else. So we're like, we're not your fit. Uh, you need to go elsewhere. And it was a hard decision because we were losing a lot of money on that, but we were losing more with my other team because they couldn't get anything closed because he was just absorbing the back room.
Mhm.
And so we had to make that decision.
And
Um,
it just kills the rest of
kills the moment, kills the mojo.
it.
So yeah, my advice, and I think you're on the same page, is cut it quick. You
I
find
was
it, cut
kind
it
of
quick.
lucky enough to start this business at a certain point in life
Yeah,
too, where I've had a lot of life experience till
yeah.
now, as
Hmm.
young as I am, right?
Yeah.
No, I came with a lot of experience,
Yeah.
brought a lot of experience to the table just in general,
Hmm.
not necessarily real estate when I
Yeah.
first started, but I had bought homes and sold
Hmm.
homes. I had done that personally. I had raised children.
Hmm.
So that's like a business in itself,
Yeah.
raising children.
Yeah.
I had successful relationships and things like that, built a life before I even started this brokerage or
Yes.
this business. So I think that helped me in a lot of ways, whereas some people, very young people, want to start out and just be like, yes, I want to jump right to the
Yeah.
top, and there's a lot of work that goes into getting you to that point in life.
Yeah. There, social media, I think, is a bad area there as far as good. It's good and bad, but then the bad area is a lot of people see the success.
The instant
Yeah, the instant they see the end result of lots of work, and that's the thing. They're seeing the highlight reel instead of seeing, yeah, he got the Ferrari, but it was also 30 years of work to get there.
Another
That's
thing
the
that you mentioned, I know that we're trying to wrap this up, but
yeah.
talking about highlight reels,
Hmm.
because especially with social media,
Yeah.
we tend to only share good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it can be really discouraging, I think, to some people, even though they're seeing all your successful moments and all your
Yes.
happy moments. That can be discouraging to people because they think, well, your life is just perfect and I'm
Yeah.
never going to measure up to that. And I'm guilty of that in a lot of
Mhm.
ways because I tend to only share good stuff. I don't want to bog people down with my
Oh yeah.
day-to-day
Yeah.
boring sob story, because everybody has it. Everybody has
Yes.
stuff in their life that's sad or
Yeah.
frustrating or whatever. And so I have tried in some ways to share maybe a little more real stuff, but without being negative, because I don't think people
Yeah.
want to hear that, honestly.
No, people do want to see the positive, and you want to stay positive, but if you comparison is not a way for you to operate,
Yeah.
so you don't want to compare yourself to someone that's doing it super well. You want to use that as an inspiration. Say, yeah, I see Jamie's doing great, and she's got her own business, and things have been going good, and I'm inspired that she got there.
And that's
And
really
and then the other part is to even reach out to you and say, "Hey, Jamie, I'm thinking about doing this. How did you get there?" The big advice I think for folks trying to start something, no matter what your age, is to talk to others who have done it,
yeah.
and they're more than willing
To
to help you out.
Yeah.
You'd
Do
be
you know how many
surprised.
people I talked to when I was thinking about doing this?
Yeah.
And I don't know, in some ways, maybe I was kind of hoping they would tell me not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
Because
no, no. I
you
get
have
it.
this thing inside of you, and you're like, I want to do this, but somebody needs to talk me out of this real quick, or
Yeah.
I'm going to actually do it.
Yeah. This is scary. It's scary.
It is
It's very,
scary.
very scary.
And I talked to a lot of business owners who are in our
Mm-hmm.
circle, who encouraged me and gave me real talk, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Here's what you're looking at.
here's what's going to happen, like, get
Mhm.
ready. But you don't listen to that always. You see how successful they've been, and they do tell you the real stuff, so you're somewhat prepared for it when it happens,
Yeah.
but you don't really know until you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to do it. You have to do it. And no, it's not going to be an easy ride. And no, you got to have a iron gut to be able to do it, because there's going to be a lot of times that you're going to wonder, why am I doing this? I need to go get a job.
Mhm.
I got to get a job today because I can't pay the bills.
Right. And real estate's kind of one of
Hmm.
those types of jobs
Yeah.
in general, because when you first start, you're shelling out money at the
Left and right.
beginning for your
Yeah.
association and your all the stuff. And then you may not make a paycheck for 6 months
Yeah.
or more. Some people
My
don't sell anything the first year they're in real estate, and that's gotta be.
my grandfather he was an entrepreneur but he gave me advice years ago, and he said, "Don't start a business until you've been in that business for 5 years." And he goes, "Secondly, don't start a business unless you've got 2 years of income saved up." That was his whole thing. He's like, "You gotta have that period." Now, I didn't do that, but, and I made it harder. It was way harder on me to do that, super hard. But his mindset there was he's been there and lived it, and he said, his thing was know what you're doing by having 5 years of experience in that business, and then secondly, having some reserve capital to handle all the startup costs because you're not gonna make money day one,
You
you
don't want to
know?
start your business in
You
debt.
if you're in debt, you're starting from negative at that point, so you're digging out of a hole already. So if you can stay cash positive from day one, then you can move forward way faster than if you're going cash negative from day one. And so that's the thing that I think people need to understand when you're starting a business. You need to be capitalized if you're going to do it right and experienced, into where you're going. Because trying to start a business without knowing what you're doing is tough. I did that with the video business. I had no idea what I was doing when I started, and it was tough. You made $500 our first year.
Wow.
So,
At
so
least
that,
you made a profit.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was more of a wasn't a profit,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
it's because I know what I was doing. And so, if I had taken my grandfather's advice, I would have been working for a company for a while, learning the business inside and out,
Yeah, take it all.
saving money, knocking any debt down right away, and then say, okay, it's time. I've got the capital, I've got the experience, I've got the connections. Now I can start a business.
Literally the
So,
difference between being smart and being wise.
yeah,
You can be so smart,
yeah,
which I'm sure you are, were,
yeah. But I'm
were
not
back then.
wise.
You are
Yeah,
smart, but then you can't have wisdom without experience.
right.
So yeah,
And
so listen to the people who
listen
are
to
wise.
the people that are wise, and sometimes they're going to tell you things you don't want to hear, and you're going to say they don't know what they're talking about, and later you'll see that they knew what they're talking about. But it's yeah, you've brought a lot of good advice to people today, and your story is fascinating and great because it's watching you take 5 to 6 years in the business and being able to start. Now you start at your own because you've had the experience to start it, and even then you're still having your learning curve you have to go through and all the expenses you've got to incur, but you've had the experience and the savings to be able to get going.
Yeah.
And so, and the connections because you made the connections in the business. If someone just gets their broker right out of the gate and tries to start a business, you're not gonna. It's not saying you're not going to, but you're definitely putting it
You can do it.
harder.
It's
Yeah,
just a lot
you're gonna make it a
harder.
lot harder on
Yeah, it's
yourself.
a lot harder than it
Yeah,
has to be if you just start from scratch, right?
yeah. Well, thanks for coming in. I
Thank you for having me.
I wish our light didn't die. I had it charged too. That's just weird. So batteries. So, but I'm been exciting to watch your success with your business and how you've grown and how like you have a marketing mind. I've been watching it. It's been really fascinating because I'm a marketing guy. And so watching how you leverage marketing and how you've paid attention, your name is all over the place. You're strategically putting your marketing in specific areas where they get a lot of hits. I watch all that stuff. As the
I might have had
impressions.
some advice on that
And
too over the years.
so all those things are important and you've been doing really good. And so I would encourage anyone that's want to start your own business or anything, reach out to Jamie. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk to you about it. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.